everybody, today with me I have a power couple, Shamal and Mohan. They are setting record here. The couple is based out of USA and it is a very, very different situation here. We have a full-time dad and we have a working woman together bringing up their two lovely daughters. Welcome aboard, Mohan and Shamal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, because this is something that you're going to burst the myth for a lot of us, saying that men have to go to work and women have to take care of the family. But this is totally opposite. So tell me, how did this even strike y'all?
Well, it didn't really strike, or we didn't really plan it. I mean, it's just the way it happened. We had to adjust. We were married for almost 10 years, and then we had our twin girls. Both of us were working full time before that. And initially, first few months, I mean, we had help taking care of the babies with our extended family, her parents, my mom, my sister-in-law. They came and helped us. But once they left, I mean, we realized, I mean, one of us has to be home. I mean, taking care of one baby, I mean, you need two people. Taking care of two babies, you need four people. I mean, because you get done with one, then the other one is ready. You get done with the second one, the first one is back. So, I mean, we have to adjust. And looking at both of our careers, both of our jobs, Shamal was working and still works for a multinational company with, I mean, it's a great employer, great benefits, especially great in this country, especially great health insurance, which is very important. So we decided Shamal is going to keep working full time, and I will work from home. That was the initial. I'll be home. I'll be taking my primary responsibility will be the twins, but I'll start something from home. That's how it all started.
Did your primary responsibility become your full-time job over a period of time, Mohan?
It did. I started a business. I did it quite a few years. I mean, but again, I mean, there were limitations. I mean, because the main job was taking care of the twins.
And actually, because Mohan used to get them ready in the morning, drop them at the daycare, and then he had some time during the day. Then I would try. My job has always been very demanding, and so I would try to pick them up on my way home from work. But sometimes if I couldn't, that was very reassuring to know that he was always available. So for some reason, if I was running late or if I couldn't make it, he would always go and bring them home. So, and then from there, like once I come home, then I would also help out with cooking. And this is another thing, that it was truly a partnership, because during the day while I was working, we would plan what's for dinner. He would chop and keep things ready, small things, make dal, like, or rice. And then I come and quickly fix things, so it's ready for dinner quickly. So growing up, I was always in sports, so and then our girls, both our twin girls, Saloni and Sanika, they have been right from kindergarten. They've been in all sports. They've played soccer, basketball, volleyball. So we both love sports. And so he would take them for all the practices. Then we both made it to all the games. So it's just constant running around as they were growing up till they become old enough that they could drive and, be more independent. He did most of this running around with.
Did you ever feel that there is a social stigma attached to it? I'm feeling humiliated doing the other way around. I'm sorry, I'm being very candid, but these are some things which would deter any man to do what you did to Mohan.
No, I mean, I never felt any social stigma. My ego was never hurt. I mean, I was doing it for my family, my girls, and that was the best for them. I enjoyed every second of it. I mean, spending time with them. I mean, if I have to do it again, absolutely, I will do it again. No social stigma. And our immediate family, I mean, if I would have been concerned if they would have said something, and they were extremely supportive. Mm-hmm. Nobody said anything to us in a bad way.
But we have very supportive friend circle. We have very close friends also here. Yeah. But then, as he said, I think family support meant a lot. They are, and that's how it should be, right? So every circumstances, every family have to, like, you can't compare just because one family does one way. Every situation is different, so you have to adapt to that.
What made you, while I understand your families were very strong, but that wouldn't be for many such people. Is there anything from your journey, any experience that you can share, anything that you have worked on yourself? So you said that, this did not matter, it did not hurt my ego. So there'll be some people who might find it very different. So is there any lesson from your side you would want to give to any one of them?
I think part of it is we were fortunate to have like upbringing from both our families. I can speak for my family now. Growing up, I also grew up in Bombay, Mumbai. I'm totally Mumbaiker, although I've lived in this country in US for last 29 years since our marriage. And a little bit of that background. So I'm the oldest daughter with two brothers. My dad always worked. Mom took care of us in spite of having a nursing degree, but that was her choice. But dad always instilled in us, because both of them, although dad was busy, they took time every year, 2-3 times a year. We used to all go on holidays with some close family friends. All the parents would play with our kids, and so that is the childhood I had, that. And my dad always taught me that you are no less than your brothers. He As soon as I turned 18, he taught me to drive jeep in Mumbai traffic. That gave me such a super self-confidence. So small things like that. And also even getting married, how once you reach certain age, you're always, not only your family, but then your relatives, everybody's looking for girls to get married at certain age. My dad was very clear, that you are first going to finish all the education that you want to, whatever you want to, and then think of marriage. So there was no pressure. And then it was very open, like, okay, do you like any boy? But then it was arranged marriage, ours was, but then it was purely our decision. And so I think some of that was instilled in our since childhood. Not everybody has that background, right? So we do understand that. So I think I would say that just try to, like, first and foremost, as a woman, believe in yourself, your core values, and don't let anybody change those, So don't let either, whether it's a spouse, a man, or anybody else. And if you feel that, because some people are, again, based on the family you come from, there may be some other influences that you may not have any choice, then try to seek help from external organization. There are so many other organizations who could help with that kind of empowering women with that kind of confidence, right? So I think that is very important, because gender equality, racial equality, I think these things come when you start believing that every human being is same. It's very important. And I think living in this country.
Yeah, and I don't understand why it should be a social stigma for any man to be a stay-at-home dad. It should not hurt any man's ego. I mean, he's doing it for his family. I mean, we were talking to one of our daughters, Sanika, last night, and she said, I don't see why it's such a big deal that dad stayed home and he took care of us. It should not be. I mean, you are equal parents. It doesn't have to be that mom has to stay home and dad did, so no big deal. That's the way they have grown up, and I'm glad that's the way, that those are the values they are going to go out when they try to find a male companion. Those are the values they will be looking for.
Any subtle micro inequities you ever faced? Let me give you an example that I know of a couple where almost similar situation. But when I talk to that lady, she says, you know what, I'm not very proud to introduce my husband in a social setup. Okay, these are micro inequities, right? And this came out when she was really emotionally down. So she wouldn't otherwise talk about it. Did y'all ever face any such small things? It is small, but emotionally it must be manifesting somewhere really and hurting people.
I never felt less than anybody else. So it never showed on my face, in my conversations, in my demeanor, in my confidence. It never. So I don't think I'm in anybody else, I mean, treated me less than them. I mean, they gave me respect. I gave them respect. That's my experience.
This is raising children was one piece that he handled, right? But there are so many things. It's not just doing house chores and cooking or any kind of role that typically women do. I can say, like, and this is what our close friends here see as well, so he's actively involved in, like, we have a local community, like Marathi community, where we are very very much engaged, and so we have functions and we keep our traditions.
So
And so
Maharashtra Association.
Maharashtra, yeah, so of Indiana. And so within that, he was a president, and, like, so showing that leadership even within our like friend circles, that then he does a lot of, like, he loves to do projects around the house, and when I was talking to Sanika yesterday, I did ask her, but dad does these kind of things. And so she said, but that's okay, because he loves to do that. It's not that. And I do help him with, like, physically if he needs help with something, but his thing, because he enjoys, not because he's a man that he's expected to. I earn money, but I hate handling money. So he handles all of finances, so I think there are so many other aspects than just typical stereotype women role that he demonstrates leadership in. So that's what gives him, like, confidence. Others see that, right? So the others see that it's not just one particular role. They're doing whatever they want, like, within their part. I think that helps too.
How do you introduce your husband to your social circle? What do you say when you introduce?
Oh, I introduce him very, very proudly. When I say he's my husband, I also say I'm proud to say that he's been, like, what typically stereotype motherly role, like, in our relation. I would say, like, within our relationship, like, he would spend, like, probably 60 to 70%, and then rest is me. So because of what he does in our relationship, it allows me to focus on my job and get things done, right? So, and I'm not worry about. And now our girls are in college, so they are old enough, they are adult now. It's give, like, he's kind of a little bit relaxed and gets to do more hobbies, and also even cooking, like, out of hobby, not out of necessity. He as the girls were growing up, as you said, it is but natural when, like, especially when they, like, in school and others, right? When the kids see all the other dads working, and then moms, like, come to what we call, like, meetings, like school teacher meetings. We both tried to go. Wherever I could not, he did, but at least I tried to go as well. But at the same time, I always made sure that they knew how proud I was that he did this for us, for all of us, so that they will never ever feel ashamed or embarrass, him or me in saying something. And that's, like, it's really great to see that that's how, like, they have a very, very special bond, like, immediately anything they need, they come to dad first.
So I have a very funny question for you, Shamal. Did you trust him with your kids?
We would find, like, of course, when the girls were young, he would do their hair, didn't know how to do it. Who cares, right? It's cute, so, or even sometimes, like, not mismatching the clothes or whatever, so, but absolutely trust. Yeah, trust. And without that trust, we wouldn't even have made that decision.
And I have seen women want it in a particular fashion, right? There are a lot of things. My house should be kept in this fashion. Meal plan should be like this. Kids should do some things, which men say they have a little bit of chalta hai attitude. Ye chal jayega, right?
And that's true. That is still, like, like our girls get away with
that was a compromise we had to do.
Yes, because what I don't know. What happened behind me, I don't know. but at the same time, I think, yes, you are absolutely right, because I did have certain expectations. And then one other thing that we tried not to do when the girls were growing up is argue in front of them about those things. If there were any such expectations or disagreements or whatever, like, then at least we had the same front, like, together, in front of them. Then we would take our arguments and disagreements outside of that and behind them, so that they were not, because that really demeans like our personal relationships and agreement, right? That in front of your kids.
One question that has been bothering me is, or which has been stayed with me, was it easier because you all were in US? Would you be able to replicate the same thing if you were in India?
Don't know. I mean, looking at the lifestyle of people in India, you have a lot of help. I mean, we didn't plan we're going to have twins. And then when it happened, then we had to adjust. I mean, we have to think about it. We have to strategize, and we have to find the best way.
And we live in
the
a
whole family.
mid-sized city. So we don't live in like LA or New York, like big cities. So it's little, and that time when this was like almost since 99, right? So it was difficult to find help, like additional help, nannies or anybody to take care. Of course, we have daycares, so, but we didn't want to immediately, because the girls were born premature. That was the other thing. I had really tough pregnancy. I was in the hospital. That's why our families were here helping us through that. Some of those circumstances also helped, like, make our decisions, because they were premature. So we didn't want to immediately send them like to a daycare or outside home. So yeah, it just, the overall circumstances made us think in India, I think maybe we would have like had more help, or maybe it would have been different circumstances.
If it's in the best interest of my daughters and our family, yeah, I won't hesitate even 1 second. I mean, if I'm in India, I would stay home with them, take care of them. Absolutely.
Awesome. Any closing comments, any message for people who are listening in, women who are listening in, dads who are listening in, and if there are anything you think from organizations that they can do to make this happen, okay, if they are listening in, any message for these three set of folks?
Keep your core values, what you believe in, for women, okay, right? So, and then find a partner that will really value that, and and align with those beliefs, and support you full-heartedly. And you have to also support. It's not just one-way traffic, right? None of the marriages are, you have to continuously work at it. It's like padding the door. We have our arguments, but you have to continue to do that. But I think about anything, like, if we truly start believing that all humans are equal, whether it's sexual or gender equality, racial equality, socio-economical equality, all things will sort out. Because I think this is where, like, because historically or whatever, we have our biases, and I think that is what we bring to the table. Like, so I think we need to be very open-minded and really try to get, like, empathize with other, whether it's different sex or different gender or anybody else, and then just be a good human being. Things will start happening. But then I think for those who are not lucky enough to have the background or help, try to seek help that will help you, like, individually, like, and empower you to be to do whatever you wish to.
And it's 2021. I mean, we have made big strides in gender equality.
Yes.
I mean, look who we are talking to. We are talking to CEO
yes.
of KELP, a big organization.
Kudos to you.
I mean, you are a huge role model to our girls.
Yes.
Absolutely. We will talk to them about you. So there isn't a field where women haven't worked, I mean, shoulder to shoulder to a man. There isn't. That doesn't exist anymore. We shouldn't look back, go forward. And there is nothing in this world that a man can do that a woman can't.
One other thing that I wanted to emphasize is being open-minded. We have reached a point where, because you may have heard, right, we have Black Lives Matter issues going on in, like, here, racial discrimination. So now we have reached a point where our friends, like, my daughters and some other kids within our friend circle, they have taken the lead. And like, since last summer, when we had lots of riots in United States, we have formed a group to talk about this, and they are educating us parents on this whole issue. And they have made us watch videos educate us on different historical contexts. And that is taken now. The next step is we are talking about even Indian caste systems.
Yes.
So I think we are learning from our next generation, which is, we are so proud of them.
Yeah, systemic racism.
Yes, absolutely.
Huge. I learned a lot about systemic racism, which I did not know.
Yeah.
I mean, they opened my eyes. It's amazing.
So we shouldn't stop learning.
Yes.
It helps us grow and open our minds to so many different things.
Yesterday when she called me, I just got off a call with a trans woman who was speaking about IT. And I was feeling that, oh my God, where am I? I've not even reached that level. And look at this woman. And immediately I get a call, which makes me feel we are so backward,
We just, through our racial discrimination discussion, the last month's topic, our girls wanted us to listen to. And this was absolute eye-opener for us because we come from India. All of us, like friends, parents come from India, like just like us. But the second generation who are born here, they don't have the concept of caste systems in India, right? And so you may or may not be aware of Netflix series for Indian matrimony. So there is a panel of 4-5 women who talk about that. One of them is the producer of that Indian matrimony series, but the others are activists. And they brought such fantastic perspectives, like how that show on Netflix just covers only certain strata of Indian society, privileged people, right? The arranged marriages, but only with privileged people.
Yeah.
They didn't even think about other castes and other, giving them opportunity. So it's just brought up, and then what we were surprised is there are American, Americans from Indian origin. There are so many people here. They are going through the similar discriminations within US companies. So I think it's just that's why I said, this is a journey that we shouldn't stop learning.
It's not a widespread thing, but yeah, I mean, there are instances, which is sad.
I think we have come to the end of our conversation. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you so much. This was our privilege, that you included us in this discussion, and it's such a important topic for Women's Day. There are so many millions of influential women out there, so we can all learn from that. But thank you for including our personal, small story.
The absolute pleasure to me. I'm telling you, if it impacts one life also, we have achieved our goal and then the conversation that then there will be multiplying effects, right?
Yes.
So which is important for each one of us. Thank you so much for doing what you all are doing, and thank you very much for coming on to this and discussing your life in public, which I don't know if you would be happy, but I am absolutely thrilled to have both of you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.